Hopefully this works. Here is RPG controller. I think it's about the fourth time I've recorded this now, or technical trouble. So here's my logo. I wanted to keep it quite simple, utilitarian, but then used a serif font to kind of give it a bit of a fantasy feel while keeping it kind of clean and utilitarian. Here's the icon that'd be in the App Store. Here's kind of the main screen. This is your kind of where it's supposed most of the time using the app. So the top panel would have a update of who rolled what dice last and what roll they made, and who they are. And then you've got some macros here. The standard dice that you'd roll along the bottom on the individual buttons, and then a nav below that. So in the overview, this is that screen again, and if you were to click this plus to add a dice macro, this is the screen it will take you into. We can change the text. You can click here to change the background image. You can scroll through to select the dice and add a modifier and create it. So the project overview, this is a native app designed for players of role-playing games who are looking to streamline their games. I tried to make something that could be used as much or as little as possible by the user, and they kind of just choose however much they want to use. So they can just roll dice with it, they could just keep track of their stats, or they could just keep track of their inventory, do all of the above, or just one of the things. So the approach to the project was define the problem, analysing competitors, so I'd look at a few other dice rolling apps and kind of general role-playing game apps and see what they did and didn't do, and then try to find a kind of gap in the market that I could fill. These are my screens with a little 30-degree tilt on them. Put them over a wooden effect as if they're sitting on a table, because when you're using the app, that's kind of what you'll be doing most of the time, is have it on the table in front of you or in your hand, but most of the time on the table, just so you can kind of, along with your any other things you might have while you're playing the game. Here's the user flow of how the user goes through the app. See, this is just the sign in flow here, and then you go to login, and then room screen. So the first thing you normally do if you're already logged in is select a room, and then these are the three tabs at the bottom of the nav. Wireframes, these are the kind of very quick just sketches of wireframes. This here is probably the most important one. Thought about having a big D20 dice rolling button in the middle, but that eventually got changed and put on the right hand side there, so that's well within thumb reach, as that's kind of your main button that you'll be pressing most of the time. So you can see there's some development going from hand-drawn wireframe all the way through to the final product. So from the wireframe, I kind of use the material material guidelines to mock it up and see how it look, and went through a few iterations, moving this plus button round. That eventually got moved to a tile here to add macros in within the grid here. These top screens, this went through a bit of development, got a little bit smaller, added in images, made them bigger, and then these were going to be colors that referenced what macro had been pushed, but then that got changed to a color representing each player. That's the main screen again, and this is the stats screen on the right hand side, so you can kind of go in and edit any stats. These are mainly just notes that you kind of just keep track of, and then a health and experience points tracker as well in there. Prototype and user testing, did a fair bit of user testing with about 5 or 6 people, just kind of seeing what they found confusing, what they found easy, You can see kind of development here as I was going through. This was a edit dice screen that I had before I decided to change it to the scrollable option. Further down here, got some of the colours that was used, and these are the logos. So the main icon logo, the full logo, and then just the icon on its own. Typography, like I said at the start, Garamond, trying to use a serif font to give it a kind of fancy feel, but then using kind of a very, I'd say, standard font, so it was legible and kind of utilitarian still. The icons, very kind of uniform in there, and then these are my kind of interactable elements. So this is the bar that you would select a dice with, your bottom navigation, the feed of who's done what, adding numbers up or down, and then this is just the menu that you'd access through the burger menu. So here we have all the final screens. Quite pleased with how they came out. Quite like this, don't know what you call it, dark turquoise colour here that we used in the background, kind of linked with the green, so they kind of reflected each other, but there was enough contrast between the two. I was quite happy with that. This here is if there's no results within a search, you get this icon, just kind of say that there's no results there. Later on in the kind of design, I added in some texture to these to kind of make them a bit more interesting. Here's the inventory screen. So these are the three options of things you can have. You can have an image, you can have just text, or you can have text and an image. This is to delete a tile, so you'd select a tile and just hit delete and then get rid of it. And then this navigation is accessed through this burger menu here that's on most of the screens. And then you can kind of go stats, inventory, dice, which relate to these three at the bottom. But it's also got rooms and edit profile, which is the main way you'd get to those screens. Here it is. Here the app is how you'd actually use it, kind of on a table. You probably wouldn't roll dice on your phone, but there is kind of looks how it would look on the table. And the challenges I came across had to effectively display rolled dice information that was clear to all players. So I think the main thing that I was trying to do was make all the information as legible as possible and just quick to look at as possible, keep everyone informed about what's happening within the game. And I wanted to allow users the freedom to customize the interface. I think that was quite achieved with the tile system I came up with, so they can kind of use it as much or as little as they want. Some of the takeaways: better understanding of the difference between Android and iOS. So I went through Material and just the iOS platforms and kind of looked at the differences and similarities between the two. That's given me a better understanding of that. That's quite interesting. Iteration, so I did lots of iteration for this project of kind of developing it and kind of pushing it forward and trying to find new ways of displaying information, and expanded my prototyping skills. So I made a working prototype that I kind of shopped out to some testers, 5 or 6 of them, just to see what their thoughts was. So that was very useful as well. And that's pretty much it, and then there's more details at the bottom. Right, I hope this is okay. Thank you very much.